What the flip is Chica's secret party? I also don't know what Chica's secret party is. I don't know if it's something new or something old. I really like FNaF Freddy's a lot. I almost played all the games and I seen like all the gameplays of it. I'm like a big FNaF fan, but I just don't know the lore. I just can't get into it. It's just so hard, you know. It's hard to understand the lore of FNaF Freddy. So I will be watching the game theory on Chica's secret party. So let's do that.
What is Chica's secret party? This mystery entry in the latest Ultimate Guide has stumped theorists the world over. So I have gathered some of the greatest minds in the FNaF theorist community to see if we can solve it. The truth is, we need your help. Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that loves its favorite franchise, Five Nights at Freddy's by Scott Cortho. I say that, it can be a lonely existence. Just sitting in a room, walls covered in nonsensical writings, dents in my desk from banging my head against it. And nothing has me more confused in my time as a FNaF theorist than when I saw Chica's secret party. In case you don't know, Chica's secret party is the quote-unquote secret game that was on Scott's website for only 3 days in 2016. You play as Toy Chica, although the guide just calls her Chica, and you deliver cake to crying children throughout a home while avoiding shadowy figures and encountering other animatronics and characters. It also like, teased the reveal of what was inside
the FNaF 3 cutscenes. I mean, like the in-between scenes. Those look like the FNaF 3 things.
The elusive FNaF 4 box. The thing is, this game never existed. I am 1000% sure of that. This thing supposedly came out in 2016, around the time of Sister Location. You know, the time where we were checking Scott's website daily to look for hints. The pages were leaked before release though, and immediately people jumped to the conclusion that this book was AI generated, and that this was just one of many mistakes. The way it talked about things felt off. The game mechanics were inconsistent. The screenshots felt like reskins of previous minigames we've already seen.
I don't think FNaF
the Ultimate Guides of old haven't been the most accurate. However, despite these points, I don't believe this is AI.
No.
While yes, the gameplay feels nonsensical, it doesn't sound like AI typically would. Also, the rest of the book, while having some errors, is mostly accurate. So it would be weird for all of the mistakes to end up on just these pages and not throughout the entire book. And finally, while Scott doesn't have the best track record with fact-checking, it feels like it would be a lot for him to not notice an entire new game that just got slipped in for 4 whole pages. It's even referenced in the table of contents. Scott 100% knew about this thing, and he left it in. DJ Sturf even confirmed as such in a response to a fan, and he works on these books. And when asked about it on Dorko's live stream, Scott just said, gotta go. A classic Scott trolling move there. But that means there is something to this chapter that we can solve. So, what is it? Well, I've asked a bunch of friends of mine to put our heads together to see if we can finally crack this thing. These guys have also been putting in the work to figure out what the heck's going on, so I wanted to highlight their efforts towards the cause, give you my interpretations too, and see if by the end of it we can either find a solution or if we can at least set up the building blocks you need to help us solve this thing. I mean, Matt did this all the way back with the survival guide, and in a month the community solved it. So let's see if we can do that again. But before we dive into that, I have a special announcement. Today's the day. Today, we finally launch our brand new fan society, the Theorieverse.
You already talked about that in the Toy Story video.
5 AMAs, votes on future episodes, game nights, and get...
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm skipping it, but I already heard about it in like the Toy Story video they also told
so many of you don't buy these books, and I do because I'm clearly a masochist. So let me tell you guys exactly what this chapter tells us. The first thing we're told about are the characters we'll be focusing on. Chica, the babies, and the shadow figures. Chica's goal is to collect pink cupcakes that she can scoop up, and we all know what happens whenever we hear that word. Throughout the levels, Chica is to deliver these cupcakes to crying babies to make them happy. The more babies she makes happy, the more they power up her life force, giving her special abilities. Again, some strange choice of words. Life force in this franchise feels connected to Remnant in some way, the mysterious soul goo that Afton used to power up the Funtime animatronics, and would tie back to the Scoop comments. In the FNaF 2 movie, we also saw that the toy animatronics are all Springlock animatronics. We even see the same thing in the Into the Pit game. The Endo Legos in that game look like the Endo O2 models, the same as the toys, but we're seeing kids getting trapped inside them. So the idea of Chica going around and collecting life force could be connected to that in some way. Finally, there's the shadow figures. Because this game couldn't just be a classic minigame, it also had to have stealth attached to it, where we need to follow one of the shadowy figures to discover who the person is behind the shadow without getting caught. We've, of course, had our run-ins with shadowy characters in this franchise, although we do know the identity of most of them, so I'm not really sure what the reveal is here. Apparently, if we follow the wrong one, something bad will happen, so I guess we'd better get it right. But with that, it's time for the gameplay. We're told that this is a 3-story house with 10 levels to complete. 2 bedrooms, a secret room, a bathroom, a kitchen and dining room, a living room, a home office, a garage, a basement, and an attic. It's a bit of a maze, and so Chica can occasionally ask for help from Fredbear, although he's not always the most talkative. Makes sense. Nothing could ever be truly helpful in this franchise. The basement is filling up with water and you have a 3-minute timer to feed the babies. Do it and they rise with the water up to the top and escape out the window. Children ascending after Chica makes them happy and gains their life force? Sounds like happiest day to me. Completing the mission gives Chica a block of cheese, and this apparently triggers Fredbear into talking about the dog who loves pizza. Sure, why not? But there are more rooms to explore. The kitchen is relatively straightforward too. Just feed the babies and avoid the dog by feeding it the pizza that Fredbear told us about. The living room, on the other hand, is a little tougher, with the lights flashing on and off and babies changing location, and one of the shadow figures trying to catch you in the darkness. In the master bedroom, Golden Freddy guards 2 cupcakes, but you need to obtain and offer him his black top hat to retrieve them. In the kids' bedroom, Chica has to pick up all the toys to gain a cupcake, but if you do both bedrooms...
He just said it was only available for 3 days, so that's really interesting that they just wiped that out. It's kind of secret.
You unlock
Maybe it will have something in the future.
A secret room, a golden key, and a snoop inside the FNaF 4 box. That stood out as interesting to me because 1, Scott said he didn't fully know what was in the box just a couple of years ago, but 2, we get to look in the box after we've cleared up all of the toys. In the FNaF 2 movie, we saw Vanessa open up a similarly suspicious box, and out of it came kids' toys, memorabilia, trophies that Afton had collected from each of his victims. Could that be what was inside the box all along? I think it was John FNaF who actually theorized about that a little while ago. Anyway, we are then told about the office, which contains a mini safe and a strange grey man working at a desk. If you get the safe code, the grey man warns you about the thing under the bed. So it seems like these levels might be out of order. I mean, we just did the bedroom with Golden Freddy under the bed. Weird. There's also a bathroom where Chica must drain the bathtub, which it specifically calls out has floating duck toys in it. If you drain it, you get a cupcake as well as some kind of mystery item, which the ultimate guide doesn't tell you. The garage has rats that are trying to stop Chica from getting the cupcakes, which is where the cheese comes in from earlier, so I guess they're not out of order, or they are, but they're not in reverse order, they're in a random order. Oh, what kind of guide is this? And finally, there's the attic. 10 hidden babies, 20 cupcakes, and a 3-minute timer. The room moves and shifts as you explore, and the shadowy figures are on the loose. But if you succeed, you win the game. Chica's secret party is over. The shadowy figures vanish, and you are joined by all of the characters we met. Fredbear, the Grey Man, Golden Freddy, oh yeah, and Bonnie. Yeah, apparently you can see him outside the window at one point. There's not a lot of explanation, it's strange. But they all dance together, and Chica joins in saying, the party doesn't have to end. And that's it. That's the end. So, as you can see, bit of a weird game, but also feels very open-ended, like there's something we're not seeing. As you kind of saw as I was going through, the things that jumped out to me felt lore relevant, like this entry was designed to teach us something about the lore that we'd previously misunderstood or missed. The idea of life force being remnant, the fact that Chica is making kids happy and they are ascending makes it feel like happiest day. David Afton, the crying child, died on his birthday, and so he and his friend's spirits couldn't move on until they received the party that was for them. But then there's also the idea of Toy Chica being a spring lock designed to capture kids. The game supposedly came out around the time of Sister Location. We don't exactly know when, it just says 2016. And Sister Location released that year, so it either was before or after.
Did they just discover it?
In that game, we explore Babies Entertainment and Rentals, a facility owned by Afton Robotics, full of FNaF characters that we recognize. Their job is to be sent out to children's birthday parties. But as we all know, the fun times have stomach hatches and mimicking devices to lure kids and capture them. So with this coming out around the same time, could this be essentially what we're seeing? Animatronics, in this case Chica, being sent out to capture kids and harvest their life force to create more remnant for Afton's schemes. I mean, Funtime Chica is missing in Sister Location, but then why not make this right Funtime Chica? It's clearly yellow with pink pants, and that is definitely Toy Chica. But that ties into the shadowy figures and the Grey Man. We come across a Grey Man working at a desk, which sounds identical to the Grey Man we find in FNaF World. It's a Grey Man working at a desk. Now, the interpretations around this character are a little vague. Is it a meta bit, and is this actually Scott sitting at the desk, overworked and horrified by his creation? Or, as some have theorized, is it Henry, due to it being the creator of the animatronics that have now become twisted from their original intent? Now, I'm not here to argue those theories today, but it is weird we encounter the same character here in Chica's secret party. Either this is Scott once again self-inserting, but for seemingly no reason, or if this game is about freeing the spirits, then that was Henry's goal in FNaF 6, and that's why he's celebrating with everyone else at the end. He achieved his goal. And because this came out in 2016 before FNaF 6, was this game meant to be an interpretation or prediction of FNaF 6? The shadowy figures are also strange.
Maybe some kind of promotion for FNaF 6. That will be like a bit too big for the entire game, for like not another entire game, you know what I mean?
Discover who the person is behind the shadow. My mind immediately went to William Afton. He's purple because he's standing in shadow. And up until Sister Location, we had very little idea who he actually was. It was only because of the Silver Eyes we had any idea what his name was, and then it got mentioned in the intro of Sister Location. So this would have been a great way to reveal that if the game had actually existed. The second shadowy figure, I suppose, could have therefore been Michael, another purple character from Sister Location that is often mistaken for his father. Following one is bad and one is good. Michael rebels against his father once he figures out what's going on, and so he's there to help Chica to free the child's spirits. In the FNaF 2 movie, he did seem to have some control over the toy animatronics, while Afton would therefore be there to stop you doing that. Or
is the movie really connected to the games though?
Maintenance person for the secret party, helping Chica to achieve the goal of collecting.
So why are we comparing the movie to like the game lore? Because I'm pretty sure like the movie lore is like completely different than the game lore.
While Michael is there trying to stop him. The issue is it's hard to figure out which way or the other it goes. Michael only goes against William once William is spring-locked, so it doesn't make sense for Michael to be helping or hurting his father's cause. I suppose there's a chance that Michael is acting like he did in the FNaF 2 movie, where he's following his father. This is in his I want to help father phase, but then why would being caught by either of them be a problem? Or wouldn't both of them be a problem? Literally, as I'm recording, I'm also thinking about Follow Me, which is that mini-game in FNaF 3 where you end up dismantling the animatronics because you're following Shadow Freddy, and then William catches you, and so that would be two shadowy figures, William and Shadow Freddy. And Shadow Freddy's identity has been a mystery for years at this point, so this could have been a way to reveal Shadow Freddy's true intentions.
I thought that was a gun for a second, but of course it's a plate, but for a second I thought it was a gun.
And how the Follow Me mini game works, again tying into these spirits being trapped and being released. But that only works if the game came out. With what we have, it doesn't feel like we get enough information to solve anything. I felt really stuck. Fortunately, I'm not the only one, and so this is where I want to introduce some of the other methods that have been used to try and solve this thing. T-Dreads, for example, had an alternative way to interpret the characters we're seeing on screen.
Well, hello there, theorists. Always wanted to do that. Thanks for having me. But you see, Tom, while you were focusing on the interpretation that William Afton is one of the Shadow Men, you took another character very literally, Chica. Of course, we could say Toy Chica is Toy Chica, but if we go a level deeper with our interpretation, we've seen Toy Chica be interpreted as a stand-in for William Afton. Also, in Ultimate Custom Night, we have High School Toy Chica, who talks about luring each of her victims to her house and killing them in progressively violent ways, just like William lured these kids to a back room and killed them. If that reading applies here too, then at least one of these shadow figures could represent something that's actively trying to kill William, maybe Henry or Michael. This interpretation gets stronger when you notice what interacting with the babies does. It's described as powering up Chica's life force, which, as you've mentioned, is a very obvious allusion to the idea of Remnant, the thing William was after. And the setting itself further adds to this idea, because while most of the minigame feels symbolic, it is grounded in a real location we all know. We're shown that it takes place in and around the Midnight Motorist house, the house where William went to after killing Charlie. And when you look into the house section of the chapter itself, things get even more suspicious, because we also learn there's a secret room, adding evidence to the idea that this is Afton's house, given that he would likely have a hidden room leading to his underground facility, a concept proven by both the sister location map,
it is really
the
confusing,
house connecting to the bunker, and Secret of the Mimic, with a literal trolley carrying us from the underground facility into the house. Point is, all of the evidence found in this chapter keeps pointing toward one person, William Afton. His house, him extracting life force, the box. Like high school toy Chica, he lures victims back to his house, and there he can extract the remnant. But even after identifying all this, we have nowhere to go with it, and we reach the end of our rope.
As you can see, another fascinating interpretation of what we're seeing, but also another dead end as for what it's supposed to solve. And speaking of the FNaF 4 house, the box, Ryan and I spoke about this on Rise podcast, and they specifically pointed out that Chica goes to a house in the Fazbear Fright story Coming Home, where there is a secret room which contains Susie's stuffed toy, allowing her spirit to leave the house and move on with Chica. Could this toy box contain David Afton's favorite childhood toy, psychic friend Fredbear? Pause for sting. As a means to help him move on, like in Happiest Day? That would make this essentially the third retelling of Happiest Day, the second one being FNaF World. It's possible, but why? What is it trying to tell us that we've missed about that minigame? Although Rye did have another possible interpretation, but I'll let him tell it.
Oh. Hi there. So the other angle I considered after our 2-hour-long session was the placement of the chapter itself. This entire guide is in chronological order of release.
That's so cool. Those two, but like really like Sonic 2.
FNaF 1, FNaF 2, FNaF 3, you get it. But despite the fact that this game supposedly came out in 2016, it's not before or after Sister Location. It's in between Help Wanted 2 and Secret of the Mimic.
And like
Why
the
would
lore.
that be? Unless it's not a hint to the past, but it's a hint to try to solve something from this modern part of the timeline. Rather than trying to solve the past, Scott gave this to us in order to predict the next game. This mysterious 2 sequel that he hinted at during Doggo's charity livestream. We also have
I still want to know what that's gonna be.
Of babies in this game. I think we counted nearly 30. We've never had a number that big before. And I also think you're right about the life force remnant connection. So by combining those ideas, you get the blob. This thing has been around since Security Breach, but like many things, we don't have an explanation for it. We've theorized that it's full of remnant and maybe agony of a bunch of missing kids due to all of the different animatronics that are a part of it, but nothing really to connect it to. What if Chica's secret party is reminiscent of Happiest Day because it's meant to be a new Happiest Day, one that helps set free all the souls still trapped in the blob? Cassie has been set up in this story as a sort of savior. Steelwool themselves said it in their interview with FNaF.
When you compare like Gregory to Cassie, she's like the healer. Her natural inclination is to help the animatronics.
Yes. During Security Breach, Gregory destroys all the animatronics, and during Ruin, Cassie not only sympathizes with them, but actively repairs Chica. And so now with her stuck in the bowels of the Pizzaplex, it could make sense for a Security Breach Ruin sequel for her to jump
but how
into
would
a
that work?
minigame
Because
like
will it do like another DLC to Security Breach, or like an entirely like new game, or will be another DLC in Security Breach? So that's what I heard everybody said that.
Happiest Day or Princess Quest and help free all the remaining souls trapped inside.
Honestly, I really like this interpretation, purely because it answers the whole what is the point question. It gives us a definitive out, but then is it satisfying? Ryan and I have gone back and forth on this because yes, it would solve the blob finally, but it's a lot of attention to draw to a character who we have no idea how important they are. Plus, we both admit it's kind of clutching at straws trying to find meaning, which is why Gibby and Unwithered Truth took a different approach to solving this thing. Rather than trying to theorize their way out of a hole, they instead treated it like an ARG. They believed that there were puzzles hiding in the language or images that could lead us to the answers we seek. Gibby even did a 5-hour live stream trying to break this down. Put mine and Rye's 2-hour podcast to shame, but well, I'll let them explain how that went.
Thanks, Tom. I personally think the puzzle is about the FNaF 4 box. It's been about 2 years since Scott told Daco that the FNaF 4 box was a dangling plot thread, and I think it's a very Scott thing to do to make this little ARG for us to solve the box after all these years. The fake game in this book supposedly came out in 2016, and that's around the time we may have expected Scott to actually give us the answer. The problem is we keep running into dead ends.
In the section labeled Scott Cawthon's minigame guide, readers are told to go look at fan wiki websites for more information. This seems like an obvious hint to go searching for some hidden ARG, but we haven't been able to find anything, so this might just be part of the fake history this chapter presents. This probably means that everything we need is solely within the book itself. Analyzing the text, we notice that despite the chapter being titled Chica's Secret Party, if you look closely at the supposed screenshots, the game itself is actually called Chica's New Party. We took this as a potential clue toward a puzzle and started substituting the word secret for new and vice versa throughout the rest of the text, but it got us nowhere.
After noticing some odd phrases in the book, like super fast being one word, and how often they'd use synonym after synonym after synonym in the same sentence, and also how they use the word sneakily so often it hurt readability, I got to thinking that maybe we were supposed to find a secret code embedded in the words. The opening section says that Chica has to hop and jump through levels. Again, there with the synonyms. So I thought we might have to hop and jump over specific words. This line of thought also applied to the security logbook, where some people thought we had to use the tally marks to find certain words on certain pages. This didn't end up being the case, but it was possible that Scott took this idea and actually implemented it in this new book.
I know you guys tried so many ways of doing this too, like taking each number mentioned in the book and then counting each word from the beginning of that section. If the section had 2 cupcakes, then count every other word to spell a secret message, which didn't work. Or using the Zaybal code from Liminy Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, where whenever a text mentions a bell ringing, as Secret Party does, you count the first word after ring and then each subsequent 11th word to get a code. But once again, to no avail.
I spent, and I kid you not, over 4 hours trying to see if there was a URL for an unlisted YouTube video hidden in the text. I highlighted every instance of the letters YOUTUBE.COMWATCH, and I found nothing, and I gave up because there were 0 slashes in the text.
In a cryptic live stream, DJ Sturf, who again contributed toward this book, recommended people go to a library and scan these pages. So Gibby took his physical copy of the book and tried holding pages up to the light, checking to see if there were secret messages or hidden overlaps between pages. We hoped maybe the numbers in the corner of the screenshots would become more visible and reveal something, but nope. The book mentions how shadows are important and that we should follow them, so we specifically checked the next chapter, which would be this section's shadow, for secrets, but we didn't find anything there either.
We tried to find each location mentioned in the chapter and assign it to a different room across the FNaF franchise. So the bedroom could be the bedroom from FNaF 4. The room with the man at the desk could be Deskman's house from FNaF World. There's one screen that seems like it could be the same as one in Mangel's Quest. You can tell because there's windows in the background. So maybe those are the same room. We tried to make a layout of the house from Chica's Secret Party using other rooms from across the franchise, and it doesn't work. Since Chica's Secret Party is after Help Wanted 2, but before Secret of the Mimic, which is where the Into the Pit game should go, a game that doesn't even get its own chapter despite being featured on the front cover, I thought this was a clue that we should look into Jeff's Pizza from that game. And I looked at the layout of that restaurant, and you can do absolutely nothing with it. Since this minigame is all about feeding babies cupcakes, I looked into the minigame from Sister Location, where you have to feed kids cupcakes in a certain order, and thought maybe you could apply that order to the book's order, but it doesn't work. None of this works.
I think the problem isn't even finding puzzle pieces that might work together. I mean, there's plenty of things to try.
But even like 5 people, or like 3, can't even figure it out. Like Darrell's FNaF fans, like this is really hidden. Really interesting.
Is not knowing where we're supposed to input those pieces. The survival logbook, for example, is entirely self-contained. The Cassidy word search hints that you're supposed to input the my name clues into it, whereas this book has absolutely no clear guide as to where to look or what to do if there is indeed a puzzle.
Absolutely. It's also tough when previous mysteries like the Mimic literally couldn't have been solved until the release of Secret of the Mimic. There just weren't enough answers given to solve that mystery before the reveal, and a lot of people think think similarly about Chica's secret party, because for all we know, it could be a mini-game in an upcoming sequel, or whatever the code is could translate to something within that game, maybe a pathway or a code within a program. But right now, it's just useless information with no sense of when we'll ever get the answer. And because of that, as well as everything you've all said, I think the community is just tired. The logbook came out during the height of FNaF excitement, and while the lore was always confusing, there wasn't so much that it felt impossible. Whereas now, post-security breach, things feel more confusing than ever. While Secret of the Mimic has done a bit to fix this, giving us clear answers about Edwin and the Mimic, there's still a lot we don't understand. And that's frustrating. The fan base is tired. They want answers. We want answers, not more mysteries that are even more cryptic. All of that may be why people haven't flocked to solve this thing in the same way. People are tired of trying to solve this.
I don't think FNaF Serie is ending like anytime soon. Like they're gonna keep making games and mysteries. Like I don't know if it's ever even gonna be solved.
12-year-old franchise. But the thing is, this community is amazing. The amount we've solved over those last 12 years is incredible. The fact that we understand any of the story is a testament to that. So we want to ask you all, let's put our differences aside and band together one more time. This is the most obvious clue to a mystery that Scott has ever given us, and I am certain there's an answer in here. We've given you the foundations to work with. There might be things we've missed, or we might have the right clues but have solved them incorrectly. Either way, we need the thousands of minds in this community to find those gaps and put the pieces back together.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it'll
want to
solve
figure it
Midnight
out
Motorist. Maybe it'll solve the Blob. Maybe it'll predict what this new game actually is. But until then, it's all just a theory.
A game theory. Thanks for watching.
World premiere on Game Theory.
Like
The
that.
FNaF 2 movie solves the FNaF game timeline.
Oh, I don't think they released that yet. I want to watch that. But yeah, I like that video. It's really interesting about like the FNaF lore. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will like see you guys in the next video. Have a great